Breathing is something we're doing about 20,000 times a day, yet most of us are never taught how to properly breathe. I developed a program for athletes called Breathe, Perform, Reset. And the idea behind this is simple. Our bodies are constantly communicating with us through our breath. So what if we taught athletes how to speak this language? Through the language of breath, I teach athletes how to use their breathing to stay calm, to stay focused, to energize themselves when they need to, and how to recover faster when they need to, and how to stay composed when the pressure is on. I like to teach how the breath is like a remote control for our nervous system, and I'm fascinated with teaching athletes how to become comfortable with that rising level of air hunger as the CO2 builds up in our bodies. Because as we may have been led to believe that CO2 is a waste gas, it plays a very important role in our body's ability through the release of oxygen through the hemoglobin in our red blood cells. The more CO2 we have, the more CO2 we have built up in our bodies, the more efficient that those tissues are at absorbing that oxygen. So when we overbreathe, when we are overbreathing, we are blowing off a lot of CO2. When that CO2 level depletes in our bodies are less efficient at using oxygen. So this is fascinating, and this is trainable, to train themselves to be comfortable with those rising levels of CO2. I'm offering this in two situations, individual coaching and team coaching. The individual coaching will take place outside of practice here at Tin Man Hall. This is where we look at the athletes' specific goals, what they want to improve. We look at their breathing patterns and the specific nuances of the particular sport or sports that they're playing. The second is team settings. This is where I show up at a practice. I don't take over the whole practice. We lecture for about 10 to 15 minutes. We give them a prompt of a practice or awareness exercise to bring to the rest of their normal practice throughout that day. And I stick around to offer reminders and encouragement for the rest of that practice. And then for the next week, the coaches continue to offer those reminders and stick with that lesson until the following week when we show up for lecture number 2. Same thing, I just intervene for about the first 15 minutes, and then the rest of the practice happens as normal, as they are just bringing another element of breath awareness or techniques into the picture. So that's how all 3 sessions work, that practices work that I show up at. The first session will be more about just breathing mechanics, the nose, the mouth, the belly, the ribs, and the chest, what order, what cadence, what ratio, the speed, the depth, all those little details matter so much as to which button we're pressing on the remote control. Simply telling an athlete to take a deep breath isn't quite enough detail, because is that deep breath happen to be something that's activating the rest and recovery mode of the nervous system, or is it elevating the sympathetic, which is fight or flight or panic mode? So depending on the situation, that the details of these breaths that we are taking matter so much. And I'm very excited to teach all of your athletes how to breathe properly for the first time possibly ever. And these are skills that don't just stay on the field. These are skills that spill off, improve the athlete's life long after their final whistle blows, and helps us all become more intelligent with the sensations happening inside our body, and including our emotional intelligence. So if you're a coach who wants to teach your athletes how to breathe, perform, and reset, please reach out. I would love to meet up with you and your team.